I'm going to start.
Okay, I'm recording now.
Okay, me too. Hey, everybody.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
All right, so we did, just for everyone else who's watching this, we did Do Not Track, which is how'd you guys explain, like an interactive documentary, kind of?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys would call
Good
it?
description.
Yeah.
So it's in 7 parts, and we kind of jigsawed it, so we're all going to learn something new. It really just has to do with like how the internet is always watching you, and it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah. I was like super paranoid after all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, cool. So we all watched the first one, which was Morning Routine, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the first one.
Okay, well, perfect. That's fine. We'll be able to go over it with you then. So it started off talking about daily rituals, and the narrator kind of talked about how his morning ritual always started with his cell phone. Basically, cell phone and caffeine was like his go-to. And it got me thinking it's like exactly the same for me because my phone is my alarm. So when I go to bed, the last thing I look at is my phone. When I wake up, the first thing I look at is I turn my alarm off, and then I'll usually like surf the internet checking news to make sure like nothing terrible happened, because that seems to be the way our world's going. Like every morning, wake up, something awful could have happened overnight. So I realize it's the exact same thing for me. It's like I check my news feed, usually on Facebook. I don't really use Twitter at all. I don't know if you guys do.
Not much.
So it's kind of scary to think about because that changed drastically from when I was in high school and I didn't have a cell phone to now. It's like, I don't know, what is that, 10 years later?
Yeah. I also had that feeling where I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I do. I wake up in the morning and I check my phone and I'm on Facebook just like going through stuff. And it actually kind of made me think about, I think it was the video from last week, I forget which one, where they talked about like 75% of people like have their phone either like they sleep with their phone or it's on like the nightstand or something. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely one of those. And I don't know, it worries me a little bit, but like at the same time, I don't know if I could not do it because it is my alarm. And what if something happens? And
yeah, I think it just turns into like a battle between like, is this healthy or is this distracting? Like last night, my wife couldn't sleep, so I woke up in the middle of the night because she was kind of like tossing and turning, and I looked over and she was just like reading news articles on her phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not going to help you go back to bed. She's like, I just can't sleep. So like that's like also the dangers, because the first thing you do when you wake up in the middle of the night is like, what time is it? How much more time do I have to sleep?
Yeah.
If you can't go back to bed, like I would do what she did, like either go through or like watch Netflix or something, you know what I mean? Like, but that's not a healthy practice at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, so on the video, because all of them are interactive.
Yeah.
It talks about like tracking in the first one. On mine, it told me I was on a PC. Did it tell you guys what type of computer you were on?
Yeah, it kind of like slipped into this thing where it was like, we already know this about you just from watching this video, and it showed like the city I was in with the temperature. It told me that I was on a Mac. It was crazy. Like I didn't understand how it got all that information.
Mine was wrong. Like it told me I was on a PC, and then it said I was in Loveland, Colorado. So I don't know.
Okay.
And I was not. I was up in Conifer.
Were you on a laptop?
Yeah, I was on my computer, so I don't know where it thinks it is.
Yeah. It was weird. It's like I can tell just from you watching this video that you're having a bad day, and it showed like Denver like -6 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Like, how did it do that?
Yeah. It's a little Big Brother-ish.
And then like it continued. Yeah, for sure. And it kept being interactive, which it was just at one point I was kind of just in awe of like all the stuff that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this is terrifying, because I knew all that about me. I'd been on this website for 15 minutes.
Yeah. A question I had is like, which we kind of already talked about, is anyone like worried, or is anyone going to try and change their habits as far as like what they use or whatever? From what I read, it sounds like it would be very difficult to like not be tracked or whatever, but.
Yeah, well, I'll get into that with the next video. It talks about your cookie policies, but I don't know if you can really like change. Like, I don't know if I could change my routine at this point, just because like our school's online.
Yeah.
And it talked about, at one point in this first video, it talked about like the perfect life that you share online, and that's extremely true. Like, you know what I mean? Unless you're having like a stream of consciousness Facebook thread, or like you do a constant one of those like Instagram videos or live feeds or whatever. Like you really are just sharing like the good stuff. Like you, for me, I'm not a huge Facebook user, but I only really share like big events. Like I got tickets to Hamilton. I'm excited about that, and I shared that. Like things that are like positive. I'm not like, oh man, my dog's sick. I'm sad. You know, like so it gets kind of into that. And then we've talked about this, and I've talked about this in other portions of like hypothesis and discussions we've used. But you kind of have to be conscious to this online persona you create, because that's the only way a lot of people know you. Like I have great friends who I rarely talk to on the phone anymore, and it's like I know what's happening in their life through Facebook or through Instagram or whatever, like what have you. Yeah. So it made me conscious of that. Like who I'm putting out on the internet is who a lot of people take me as, and that's not necessarily who I am. Does that make sense?
Agreed. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like being maybe a little older, like I probably don't have a huge presence online, and a lot of, well, and in addition, like a lot of the privacy concerns about being online have always been kind of a big deal to me.
Yeah.
So for instance, like my online media presence is probably a lot lower than maybe a lot of people in our cohort. Like I'm not on my phone very much, or like I'll check Facebook for like 2 minutes maybe once a day, just to see if anybody, like any of my friends, posted something interesting or not. But I won't really, I mean, apart from using my phone and like actual phone calls, I hardly use it for anything else. Like I could get by without a smartphone.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's kind of a generational. Oh, that's not necessarily true. But it's becoming like looking at our kids in the classrooms. Could you imagine one of them without a cell phone? At this point? I can't even imagine.
That's the thing. Like, I mean, smartphones didn't come out until several years after I was out of college. We didn't even have the freaking internet in college. Like, we still used like legit 3x5 cards in the library to look up books. Like, so
I think I was like right in between there, because I didn't have a cell phone until I went to college, and then like we still had like everything wasn't digitized yet, so you're still using all those cards, and even like using online databases to find articles and stuff was much different than it is now. It was like you had to go to the library and log into their program and had to show that you were a student to like get into their archives, which was
So yeah, like, and this class, and especially like you said earlier, like this program has increased my online presence exponentially.
Yeah.
And in ways that I've been pretty uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Because I've been so kind of almost a Luddite when it comes to privacy issues.
Yeah. And you had Jared last year as a teacher, right? Didn't you guys have to do like Twitter responses to things?
Yeah.
Like, use all these different forms of
Yeah.
Which I think is good, because it's a good practice for like this class is a good practice for like learning how to teach our students in different ways, but it's also kind of daunting because it's always evolving. Yeah, like, when will this class be obsolete?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, let's I had the second video.
Okay.
It's called Breaking Ad. So do you guys know what cookies are when you're like on the internet?
Yeah.
Okay. So just in case anyone doesn't know, cookies are basically these tiny little bits of data that every website kind of throws at you. And almost always you're going to see a cookie like acceptance thing, and you can't deny it. It just says, okay. There's no deny that. Like no matter what, if you're on a website and they're letting you use it for free, you are getting tracked, basically. So the video kind of went into talking about cookies, and then started talking about tracking when that started. So the big thing was the internet kind of went through this lull of like, we're not making any money. How do people profit from using this free service? That's when pop-up ads started. Which we all know pop-up ads, they're terrible. when people realized that those were just annoying and they weren't creating any revenue, that's when cookies were created, more or less. So the way they put it like this is like, think about it, when you add something to your shopping cart. Say you're on Amazon, you add something to your shopping cart, and then you leave the website and come back later and it's still in your shopping cart. That's a good cookie. Like that's something like you may have forgotten about that you want to go back and revisit. So Amazon websites like that don't really use cookies that much because you feed into it. So they just take the data that you give it. Like your shopping habits kind of feed their profile of you. Where other sites, say Facebook or Yahoo or Google, they throw cookies at you, and then they can turn around and sell that data to bigger companies, basically to track your online presence and get a profile of who you are and who people are in general, which is kind of terrifying. But there's nothing you can really do about it. So it's really scary. And then I went on to say, like, tracking is the basis for internet economy. Like, if tracking didn't exist, free internet basically wouldn't exist. And then it had like this interesting kind of question, interactive portion. So I'll ask you guys the same questions that asked me, since you guys didn't do it. They asked me, how much would you pay for Facebook if you had to pay for Facebook?
Are there options?
Yeah, no, it's just you can put any amount you wanted to. If you had to pay for like Netflix, you had to pay a monthly amount to use Facebook, what would you pay?
I want to say that I would give up Facebook, but I know that wouldn't happen.
Okay. That's what I said too.
I think like I would probably pay kind of like, I don't know, kind of like with Spotify. I don't know how much Spotify costs, but I would pay maybe like $5 a month,
Yeah.
maybe 10 if everyone else is doing it. But I don't think I would pay more than that.
Yeah. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, not more than 5. I'd pay something because I keep in touch with like old high school friends and people back east where I grew up, and that has some value to me, but it wouldn't be more than, I'd say maybe even less than $3 a month.
Yeah.
I'd pay 1. I don't know if I'd pay more than 3.
Okay. I said 0. Mandy said 0. You said maybe 1 to 3. So in order for them to stop tracking you, we'd each have to pay $9 a month. That's how much they make off of us a month. $9.
Oh my
Think about the
gosh.
billions of users they have. We'd all have to pay $9 a month for basically for them to stop tracking us.
I feel so used.
Okay, wait for this one. So think of a different service. Let's say Google, the second one they asked. I said I'd pay $1 a month because Google is something I use every single day.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'd probably pay more than 1, but being conservative, I said $1 yesterday. What do you guys think?
I use Google all the time. I don't know. I would pay like $5 a month for it because I feel like it's everything.
Yeah. The last module or episode on there asked that question, or didn't ask how much we'd pay, but whether we'd be willing to pay versus being like having our data mined. And I've thought, for a search engine, if it was my only search engine or my only access to the internet, I'd probably be willing to pay a pretty good chunk for it.
Okay. What do you think that's worth? What do you guys guess that they make off of us? About our services?
Gosh, it's probably so much.
9, maybe like $15 per person.
Okay. What do you think, Kyle?
How much do they make off of us?
Yep. If Facebook's making $9, what do you think Google's making off of your activity?
30, 50, 30. I don't know.
Okay. They're making $45.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
You're in the wrong business, you guys.
Yeah. So think about that. Like if we wanted to use Google and we wanted to pay for it and not get tracked, you're probably paying around $45. That's insane.
I feel like I would end up having to do that. Like Facebook I could give up, but I don't know if I could give up like a search engine.
Yeah.
How else am I supposed to search anything?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I think if you think about it, like AOL back in the day, that was a monthly. You paid for that really before all this stuff started. And there's Internet Explorer, but that was pop-up central. So, Okay, let's move on to like mining. I don't know how long this video is supposed to be. I think
it's at like 20 to 25 minutes. So.
Okay. All right, cool. We'll move on to the third video, which is called like mining, like the thumb from Facebook, like mining.
Oh, okay.
So it started off just talking about this was a German narrator, so it was in subtitles. But really started going into talking about how Facebook uses likes to analyze people. Not just Facebook. There's millions of companies who kind of pay for that data. But it's not talking about like likes as in you like your friend's comment that they're pregnant, or like you like their friend's marriage picture. It's talking about likes as in I like Disneyland, or I like Bruno Mars. Like that kind of data is what they're looking at. It talks about how companies, they had this company which they called Illuminous, and then it prompted me and said, do you want to sign up for Illuminous to see your data, or do you want to stay anonymous? I don't think it would have mattered either way, so I signed up just to see what it was all about. And then it basically gave me a profile of who I was after it analyzed my data. And I don't like a whole lot of stuff on Facebook, so I don't know if I was a perfect candidate for this. I had 40 likes over my entire Facebook history, which is, I must have been in high school, a senior in high school when I started that. So it's been a while. But they broke it down by year. Like 2016 was my highest year of likes for some reason. I don't know why. Well, that's not true. In 2015, I lived in Seattle, and I didn't have internet for an entire year. So I guess I wasn't on Facebook as much. I guess that makes sense. And in 2017, I've been at school, and I don't really care about Facebook that much anymore. So I guess that makes sense. Anyways. So from that, it gave me, I got to score the highest in what they called openness, which indicated that I was creative, imaginative, and adventurous based off of my likes. They said the perfect, to get the best version of your of your profile, you need 250 likes. So I had 40, so I'm pretty far below that. So it wasn't a perfect picture of who I am, but it gives you an idea of what they're looking at. So the 5 categories were extroversion, openness, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So at least I didn't get neuroticism. That was nice. And then I went in talking about there's 2 scientists, one from I think Harvard and one from Cambridge, and they said that when they started this, looking at this data, they thought they can get a pretty good picture of someone, but they've come to discover if you have more than 250 likes, that this algorithm will know you better than your wife, your husband, or your significant other. Like that's how much data they're getting from this information, which is pretty scary. So the video stopped and it gave me that information. Then it went on and it talked about some more things. And then it got to the second video where it stopped again. And it gave me my financial risk evaluation based off my likes. It said I was mediocre candidate for a loan, basically saying that based off the things I liked and the amount of other people in the world who they've done this to and who like that I kind of fall in the lower side of that I'll pay back loans and that I have I don't know how that's a good social standing, which is kind of scary. It says an extreme potential for risk behavior in career decisions. So maybe this career path is not right for me, guys. I'm a significant financial risk, and I'm an extreme social risk. So I don't know if this is a great profile on me because I don't really agree with any of those. And then it went into talking about how lending companies are starting to use this information. There's one company called Lendo, which can approve or deny loans based off of these algorithms, which sounds bad, but it kind of broke it down in saying that, say you're a person who come from an impoverished area, or you have no credit history, or you're too young for these kind of loans, they can basically judge you off this algorithm and say you're an ideal candidate for a loan because they believe they'll pay it back and that you're responsible, which is kind of cool. And then the third video stopped, said I was an extreme health risk, which I don't know what that means. It said I'm a potential safety risk, which means I could drive fast or I like biking without a helmet. And it says I'm a potential recreational risk, probably because I like skiing and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Anything that weird things like that. So I built this profile of me off of these 40 likes. So think about that. If you go on your Facebook, you can see all the stuff. You're if you have more than 250, there's a good chance that you're this can take a pretty good picture of who you are, which is kind of scary. All right. Who had video 4?
I did. Okay, so video 4 was called The Spy in My Phone, and it was all about your smartphone and how it tracks you and all the apps and everything, which I kind of always was aware that some of them did, you know. And then I always like turn my location services, like everything I can, off unless I need it. But apparently that's not enough. So one thing, like they said, and they started in the, they started the video with like a would you rather. Would you rather give up your smartphone or agree to carry around like little spies in your pocket? Because that's like essentially what it is. And I think I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like I could do it, but I don't know if I actually could. I could go back to, I think, just like a normal phone, like a flip phone that just makes calls and texts people. But I say that, and I don't know if I actually could do it. What do you guys think? Could you do it?
I don't know. I just don't know if the convenience factor, like having a map, a global map in your pocket.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And like I pay, at this point, like I have, which I'm now thinking about is probably terrible, I have all my credit cards and stuff like in my iWallet. I can just scan my phone rather than pulling out my wallet every single time I go somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I would give it up at this point. Then again, like I don't think I'm a terrible person who like am at risk for the internet spying on me.
Okay. I'm gonna have to pause the recording because the dryer guy's here.
Okay, cool. We'll take a
Hold on.
couple
Take a
minutes.
recess. Okay, Kyle, would you give up your smartphone?
That's tough. Like I could not, even though I don't use it for like a lot of social media stuff, that sort of stuff, I could not have given it up before I joined this program because it was essential for my business to stay in contact, to be able to look up information. Yeah, I mean, it was essential, especially having mobile access to the internet when you're trying to build a house. Yeah, I just like, it made such a huge difference in terms of my business efficiency. Now, like as a teacher, I don't know how much, like I guess we'll see how much from a like work standpoint I would need it. If it was personally from like a personal standpoint, if you could cut out my employment from the equation, I think I probably could. But yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Okay. Well, then maybe you'll change your mind after I tell you guys all this stuff. So one thing that they like followed a person, and this person had 57 apps on their phone. 30 of those apps were tracking, like had some type of tracker in it. And it was like ridiculous apps. One of them is even your flashlight on your phone tracks you. Because it has like the flashlight, when you turn it on, connects to the UDID, which is like your phone's personal ID. And then that like, it was a little confusing, but.
So is it like when it asked when you download an app, it says maps would like to track your location, or like would you like to know your location or whatever? Are you accepting that? Is that basically yes, accepting?
Yeah, kind of, but like your flashlight doesn't really have that because it's not like directly, a flashlight doesn't directly need your location.
Okay.
But because it like turns on your phone's ID and that gets like pinged around or whatever, it can locate you. So yeah, so that's great. And even things like, okay, like games and everything, like Angry Birds, when that was like all the rage. Angry Birds, I never played it, but what they said was you could connect it to your contacts. You could like play with friends, but it's not like when they ask you to connect to your contacts, it was not just to invite friends, it was to use those in any way that they please. So that's good too, apparently. So they could pull data from like everything like that. And even, let's see what else I had in here. They even had like, depending on your location, like your geographical location and that of like one of your friends, there were actually algorithms and everything that could possibly predict your whereabouts, like where you will be next.
Yeah.
Like pretty well.
Hey guys, hold on. I'm getting a thing that says we have 9 minutes and 40 seconds left until our free trial ends. So just keep that in mind. We have 10 minutes.
I'll get moving quickly. Okay, so let's see. It talked about like how do you not do that? How do you maybe like not have your phone track you and you could shut it off, but there's still malware that will track you even though your phone's off, or the only thing is to take out a battery. But like on an iPhone, you need like a screwdriver and all that. So doesn't seem possible. There was also an experiment that was done in London about hotspot security. And on the terms and agreements, a lot of this stuff is listed on the terms, and people just accept those because they're so long. It said on there, like, if they agreed, they would have to give over their firstborn child to a government agency. And people agreed because they didn't, like, read it. And things like that are just, I guess, important to look out for, because to build like a hotspot device and everything, it's not that hard, and it only costs like 200 euros. So it's better to just like pay, they were saying. And then I read some of the articles that talked about like big data just in general, and it was pretty cool. Oh, I'm already getting into the next one.
Okay, perfect.
Maybe. I don't know. It's blending together. So we're just going to keep going.
All right.
Yeah, this next one talked about, did I? I don't know. Yeah, it talked about big data and kind of how that can be used against us, and then actually how it can be good. So big data is basically all trying to make sense of the use of data collected. So like one thing, it was a cool interactive, you could connect all these different things and see how big data is used in that situation. They had it with like a hospital, and they actually were able to, with the big data used from all the medical machines and everything, and how they like take measurements like every couple seconds or whatever, they were able to actually use it to help save newborn babies because of all that big data. So that was pretty cool. But it can also like manipulate a lot. So let's see. Like it's not always correct, and a lot of times the people that are affected by it, then when it's not correct, are, it can be perceived as racist, and minorities and those who are already discriminated are most affected by that. So another thing, like big data is like so not popular, but so well known, I guess, is that even with a zip code, they can predict your annual income, your education, your lifestyle, like, which is scary. And then, okay, the last point I had was this one lady, she like had decided to, she was pregnant, and instead of announcing her pregnancy like on Facebook, she wanted to keep it like, to just call people and not see if she could actually keep it a secret. So she didn't use credit cards, she didn't like post anything. She actually used the dark web if she had to go on and order anything, like online, and she only paid for things in cash. So she was actually predicted as suspicious criminal activity because of all this, because she was pulling out huge amounts of cash on the dark web, like things like that, and you couldn't find her really. So because she just wanted to keep something like out of, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. All
right, we have 6 minutes, guys. Sorry.
No, you're fine. That's pretty much all I have. I don't think I have any big questions that we haven't discussed. So we just talked about tracking and how it's scary. The two. One was more about big data, and one was more about phones tracking.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, Kyle.
So I'll spend a little bit more time maybe on episode 6 than the last episode. Episode 6 was about the filter bubble, essentially how the algorithms on social media filter the world now through that algorithm and a lens based on pretty much who our friends are online and what pages we visit, what we give thumbs up, like on Facebook, what we like, who we follow. All of that means that while we used to, and this is similar to one video that we watched last week, while we used to have the world sort of mediated to us from like a big sort of gatekeepers and corporate media conglomerates and the big 3 networks, now pretty much it's an algorithm through our social media sites that is programmed, I guess is the word, to essentially reinforce what we already believe. So these algorithms, like especially for places like Facebook, right? They want to constantly feed us information that we already agree with in order to keep us constantly engaged and constantly coming back to their website so they can make money off of us. And this has the effect of filtering the world and putting us in a bubble where everything we believe is just constantly reinforced and confirmed, like a form of confirmation bias, pretty much. So, everything gets filtered through that algorithm now. So this sort of leads to, I think, a little bit what maybe one of the articles that we read for in this week's module about the transparency problem. It talks about how, like, one of the problems today is that kids can't, the kids are not actively reflecting on their use of social media or other media experiences online, and they can't always fully articulate sort of that experience or what they're learning or the dangers of that experience. So one of the things that I was thinking about, I guess, in terms of asking you guys is, like, this seems like, certainly in terms of civic engagement, understanding how our, like, what we see on Facebook and that kind of stuff colors our view of the world, and how Facebook and stuff selects all of our information. So, like, if we're a Democrat, we tend to only see Democratic argument or articles. We're Republican and we have our Republican friends, we only see that. Obviously, like, in terms of 21st century skills for kids in the classroom, as teachers, we want to be able to teach them how to use these social media sites, like, wisely. And I was wondering, like, how you guys think we could use tech in the classroom to encourage that kind of digital media literacy, or alternatively, like, what sorts of explicit teaching do you think we could use or give to sort of supplement the technology we're using in the classroom to help kids think a little more deeply and more critically about?
Yeah, I think, like, introducing, like, this site and kind of coming up with ideas of how we could, work lessons around basically this site, because it is a documentary of sorts. But, like, we have less than a minute. Sorry, we have to get off here in a second. But, like, this site allowing us to, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Like, inform kids, like, all the stuff they do online is watched, and much more than, like, we are getting watched. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, kids, like, they post and do whatever they want on the internet. They don't think twice about it, most of them. And I think showing them, like, how that really has an effect, and everything that you do, every like that you give, like, can really affect you in the long term. So
okay. I'm going to stop the recording, guys. I don't want to lose it. But it's been fun.
yeah.
All right, guys. Sorry.
No
All
worries.
right.
Do you want to post it, Hunter, or do you want me to?
I'll see if I can, and then if we can't, I'll tag you guys, and if I can, see if yours works.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Cool.
Good work, guys.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.